Environment variables are one of the most important concepts in programming, and you really have to understand them. And they're very easy to understand. So in this video, I'm going to explain what environment variables are, what is a key value pair, and I'm going to use an example of a kitchen and a chef to make that analogy so it's really easy to understand. They're very, very straightforward, but they're just going to show up from the beginning. Right when you start to learn to program, let's say Python, the first thing you're going to do is install Python. When you install Python, you have to make sure that directory is part of the environment variable paths. So you got to know what paths is, and you got to know what environment variables are. And they're just getting started to learn. So they show up at the beginning, then they show up everywhere. So they're not like part of just writing logic, just the basic Python logic. But when you're trying to learn applications, run applications, when you're trying to get into CI/CD, when you get into Docker, everywhere they come. Environment variables, they just show up. They're very, very important. Everything works with environment variables, and they're easy to understand. So in this video, you are going to learn this. I created this as part of my Python course, right? I usually just jump into Python and just start teaching Python, but I wanted to add a section in front of Python course to basically get you warmed up and give you the high level stuff, like not only writing code. First you need to run existing stuff, then you get to write code. So that's part of it. Check out the Python course if you want, or the full program that I have, and subscribe and like this video, because all I do is teach QA automation. So let's jump right into it and talk about environment variables. So environment variable is just nothing but a key value pair that is available in the environment. Key value pair. So now we have to define what a key value pair is. So here, what you see on my screen in the terminal, those are the environment variables in this terminal. The terminal or the command line is our environment. So I'm going to show this both on Windows and on Mac, right? I'm doing this on Mac right now. I'm just going to go back and forth. This is my Windows. This is my Mac. So before we get to the environment variable, first let's talk about key value pairs. So when you look at a spreadsheet, you're totally used to seeing this. You see something like this usually, right? You see two columns. You say name is Admas. This is just an example, right? Role QA engineer. Location Las Vegas. Is active true. Now this are key value pairs. Two things, right? You have the key, you have the corresponding value. You have the key, you have the corresponding value. And normally the variables are the keys. The key is a variable. It's a name. Whenever you want to access the role of this person, you go to the variable role, which is the key. Then you get the value, which is going to be the QA engineer. That's just one example. The same example that we saw in the CSV, we can see it in a text file, which is going to be the key equals the value. Key equals the value. Key equals the value. So key value pair is a structure that we use in programming, and it's going to come up really often. Another example is JSON. A JSON or a dictionary. You're going to learn this when you get into Python. But by now you've probably seen JSON somewhere, because all APIs, most APIs work with JSON. When you look at JSON, you have key value, key value, key value. When you want to get the value, when you want to get the actual name, you're going to ask for the key name. When you want to get the role, you're going to ask for the key role. One more example. Let's say this is a chef. We're going to come back to this. This is key value, key value. This is notes for the chef. So the idea of key value pair. So the idea of key value pair, I want you to get that, right? Key value pair means just you have a key equals some kind of value. You have a key equals some kind of value. First, I want you to understand that, right? Just pause here and make sure you conceptualize that. Especially when you look at this, the simple one, you should understand it. Key, value, key, value, key, value. Okay, now we said we're talking about environment variables, and we said we're going to do it in the terminal. So let me clear the terminal. So the terminal is where we cook, right? That's where we do our work. As manually as a human, when I come interact with the computer, I do it in the terminal. When I run a program, the program runs in the terminal. It does its own thing, but it runs in the terminal. So you can think of the terminal, our environment where we're going to work at. And the analogy I'm going to give you to make it easier is the terminal is the kitchen, right? It's the kitchen and I'm the chef. It's the kitchen and you are the chef. So when you go as a chef, when you go to the kitchen, you're going to get a piece of note, and that note would have information that you need. So in this example here, let me pull that up. We have this kitchen variables. So if I'm a chef, I show up in the kitchen, I'm going to need knives. So I'm going to ask for a knife. It's going to be in the first drawer. I'm going to need a cutting board. It's going to be in the lower cabinet. I'm going to need a salt bin right off the stove, right? I need information about the temperature of the oven, the grill, a bunch of information that I need, and I get notes, right? So somebody, let's say I walk into my kitchen and my wife is going to hand me a note that shows me where all these things are, right? Just think of that. So now that kitchen is the environment, aka our terminal here. This is the environment, and the environment variables are that note that she gave me, that sticky note that she gave me. That is the note. So once I get to the terminal, how do I get that note? I'm going to use a command called env on a Mac. If you're on a Mac, you're going to use the command env and hit enter. Now you get a bunch of them. If you are on Windows, you're going to open command prompt. You want to do this in command prompt. You can do it in the other terminals, but I'm going to do it in command prompt. And you could do set, lowercase set, hit enter. You get a bunch of key value pairs. As you can see, we have the key, the value, we have the key, the value, we have the key, the value, right? Key value, window, something, user profile, something, username, something, right? Key value. When we look at the Mac, the same thing. We have the key, we have the value, we have the key, we have the value, we have the key, we have the value, a bunch of them. So those are the variables, right? Those are the environment variables. Now, I said our kitchen is the environment where I'm going to operate. In this terminal is the environment where I'm going to operate. If I was a chef, I go to the kitchen, I get a note, a sticky note with a list of items. So think of that and think of this the same way. You go to the terminal, you're trying to do some work, you're trying to cook, and you get information in a note, and this is your note. And to get that, let me clear this one more time. env, just gotta write that down, or remember, env is kind of easy to remember, right? Environment, env, you hit enter, and you get all your notes. And whatever notes that you need, it will show up here. If it's not there, that means you can't do your work. So that environment variable has to be available. That information you need to be able to do what you need to do needs to be available. So that's a little bit more complicated, but where those are coming from right now, I opened a brand new terminal and all those variables are set automatically by the system. The same thing in the Windows, right? I didn't set them myself. As soon as I open the command prompt, those variables are automatically set. That's a whole different thing. You just remember that they are set. You can add more to it. You can set your own variables, and we're going to talk about that. But why do you want to set that? Right? So when you think about it, if the chef comes into my kitchen or if the chef comes to your kitchen, the stuff is going to be different, right? Where you have your information is going to be different. In my kitchen, the knives might be in the first drawer. In your kitchen, the knives might be in the third drawer. So the chef comes and the first thing is going to ask us for that variable. If we go back to the variables, like the chef variables, so the chef is going to ask, hey, I need knives, right? So if he comes to my kitchen, I'm going to say, hey, knives are in first drawer. Then the chef goes into your kitchen, is trying to cook in your kitchen, is going to say, hey, where is knives? It's going to ask for the same thing. So the key or the variable is going to be the same. Whatever the chef needs is going to be the same. Same thing with my application. If I have a Python application that's looking for knives, when I open a terminal on this computer, it's going to say, hey, I need knives. And whatever the value is set in that terminal, in that kitchen, is going to get it. Then it's going to go into a different computer. The same Python script, let's say I go to my Windows computer. What is the Python script going to ask? It's going to ask for knives, right? It's going to ask for that key, but the value is going to be different because the knives in the Windows is going to be different. The knives in your kitchen is going to be different. So the variable is knives. The value is going to be different. So the chef is going to come, is always going to ask for knives, always going to ask for cutting board, it's always going to ask for salt bin, but the values are going to be different in your kitchen versus in my kitchen. So we have to set those. For example, I can set all of those into this terminal. Instead of doing all of those, I'm just going to do one, right? So here I'm going to come. So the command to set a new variable is export on Mac. I'll show you in Windows. Export, I'm going to say knives, right? Equals, let me just say first drawer, right? The spelling doesn't matter. I just exported it. That means I just set it. So if I do env one more time, I will see it as part of my variables. I will see it here. It's there now, the new variable that I set. On Windows, if you want to set, it's the same command as you want to list it. Remember I say, let me clear this. To list them is set, lowercase, hit enter. You list all the variables. To set them, you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to do set knives equal, I can just say second drawer, right? I mean, the spelling is all messed up, but it's okay. Now, if I do set one more time, I should see it. So in Windows, it's alphabetical, I believe. It looks like it's alphabetical. So knives is K, so I need to scroll up to find knives right here. As you notice on the Mac, it showed up last. It's basically the last one that was added. On Windows, it's alphabetical. I actually think the alphabetical is nicer because it's easier to find. But the point is, I set it. I can set another one. I can set, I can say foobar or something. Foobar is equal to XYZ. I just set that. I don't know why it printed everything, but let's do set one more time and let's see if foobar is set. I feel like something went wrong there, but it's not. It's set right here. Okay. On a Mac, to repeat, I'm going to clear this. If I want to set something, a variable, it's going to be export. So Windows set, Mac export. Export, I can say foobar is XYZ. And env to list it out. Oh, env, not evn. Now foobar is there. So I set that, okay? Now we understand several things. We learn what are key value pairs. We learn what are variables. The variable is the key and the value is what the information it holds. And we learn how to set them. right? So now this terminal is my workspace. It is my kitchen. This is what I'm cooking. Now, if I open a new terminal, I'm just going to do Command T to open a new tab, right? In the new tab, aka the new kitchen, I just went to the new kitchen. If I do env to view the variables, the new variables that I set here, right, the knife and the food bar, they're not there. So when I go to a new kitchen, that kitchen has its own set of notes. So every time I open a new terminal, there are some variables that the system set, right? So not something I set myself. They're default. Think of them that like default variables. Every time you open a new terminal, there is default variables. You can change those. There is a way to do that. So you can set something is always available. But the way I did it here, I added 2 more manually myself. So when I open a new terminal, they're not there. So we run into a lot of issues. My students ask me a lot of questions about that because they open a terminal, they set the variables they need. When we run tests, when we run test scripts, we need variables. So when we set the variables, then tomorrow or later, they open a new terminal and they try to run the test doesn't work. And they say, hey, I already set the variables, but my tests are not running. It's saying the variables is not found. Then my question is, hey, did you set it in the same terminal, in the same window, or brand new window? They say, oh no, I have different tabs. I set it in this tab. I open another tab. It's not there. So I want you to know that because that's going to cause you a lot of issues, a lot of errors. So the variables you manually set in a terminal, in an environment, when you go to another environment, which is another terminal, is gone, right? This is the same terminal window, but a new tab is just a new window. It makes it easier to see. They call it a tab. So very important to know that. Even if you're working in the terminal that is inside of VS Code or some kind of IDE, this is still terminal. You open terminal here, you open a new tab. I can click here, tab. I just open a new tab. The tabs show up here. If you set variables on one of the tabs, and you go to another tab, those variables are gone. The ones you set are gone because that environment is that little window you're working in, right? Every time you open a new terminal, it's a new environment. When you go in there and you run your automation code, your Python code, you're running it in that environment. You go open another terminal, that's a whole new environment. So you got to set those variables again in the new terminal. Unless you configure it, they automatically get set everywhere. Okay, so all this is to get into paths. Now, there is one variable called the paths variable. So when we print out those things, all the variables here, there's a variable called paths. It has a value, which is a list of directories. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about particularly this path. This path is what tells the system how to find executables. When you install Python, if you don't add the installation folder into the paths, it won't find it. So we're going to get into that. The reason I want to make sure we talk about environment variables is just so I can get to the paths part, so we can talk about paths. So I think this is very important. Hopefully you understood everything what I'm saying. Hopefully you do it. You just open the terminal. If you're on a Mac, open terminal. If you are on Windows, open command prompt and try that out. And if you don't understand this, please go watch another video about environment variables. Just YouTube it. Go to ChatGPT or any of the AIs you like and ask it, hey, explain to me what a variable is, or specifically environment variable is. The whole concept of like comparing with a kitchen and a chef, I got it from ChatGPT. It was like, oh, you can think of it like a chef. I mean, I know how it is, but I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to explain it. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome, right? It makes so much sense to talk about a chef goes to the kitchen and he gets a sticky note with all the information he needs. It's kind of like that. That's what environment variables are. Hopefully that made sense. If not, let me know also, like put a comment or message or anything, and I'll try to do another one or do more examples or something like that. So hopefully you enjoyed that. So I'll see you on the next one.